Hi again then guys, and welcome to another specific car review for Forza Motorsport 7, and this time we're taking a look at a car which has pretty big shoes to fill. Not because of its rivals, necessarily, because actually this car doesn't really have that many natural rivals, given that it's a hybrid, exotic sports car. There aren't really that many of those around. There probably will be in coming years, but at the moment, the BMW i8 kind of has its own little corner on the market, somewhere between sports car and super sports. Now, with that being said, although the performance and certainly the spec isn't necessarily super sports car level, and certainly not supercar level, the price is. More so on the game than in real life, but even in real life, it ain't a cheap car, that's for sure. On the game though, it's really expensive. 275,000 credits is literally supercar money. So for that kind of price, the biggest thing that this car has to live up to is its own pricing, rather than any other vehicle in particular. Now, it is a hybrid. It has a 3-cylinder petrol burner plus electric power, and that 3-cylinder power plant in particular sounds, I think, fantastic on the game. It's a little bit higher pitched than, say, a 6-cylinder or even a 4, but at the same time it gives you more than enough power and torque when combined with the hybrid system to get the job done. As I said, it's not a supercar, of course, nowhere near, but for a sports car, it's certainly running good numbers, at least in stock form, and of course you can make it even better thereafter. 357 horsepower is decent enough, 420 pound-feet of torque is even better, and even though you're carrying a battery pack, the extra electric motor, etc., it's not overly heavy either. It weighs 1,533 kilos, which is pretty good. Now, the horsepower per tonne is pretty modest, given that the power isn't that high in the first place, and so you're looking at 233 horsepower per tonne, which, to put into perspective, is roughly the same as you'd expect from, say, a decent hot hatch, or some other sports cars. So it's not earth-shattering by any means, but even the class itself isn't ridiculously high. It is an A-class vehicle, but it's not that high in the A-class at 630, so all of these things, from an on-paper spec point of view, seem pretty good for a sports car, at least to begin with. It gives you a nice canvas to work from. All except the price. It's such an expensive car. So, of course, the main question for a vehicle like this, or like many other more, not oddball, but more boutique-feeling exotics, like a Spiker, for instance, various other cars like that, is that extra price worth being different from the crowd, or is it more of a gimmick, if you will, rather than a class-leading vehicle? Well, in terms of performance, it's a Beamer, so you can expect certain things. BMWs are, of course, known for being very good drivers' cars, and for usually, more often than not, using rear-wheel drive. This car does that. It has that rear-wheel drive layout with very good driver feedback. It's very fun. It has great driver involvement, and the fact that although the weight isn't super low, the car itself isn't all that big, means that you really can throw it through corners and have a lot of fun with it. Of course, that doesn't automatically mean you're going to win races with it, but it means that at the very least, if you do decide to buy one, you know that you can have a lot of fun with it. And for me personally, at least, and I should think for some of you guys as well, if you're buying a car like this, which is more likely than not going to be the best sports car in the game, especially not for the money, you want to at least know that it's going to be a whole lot of fun to drive and just a nice car to own for the sake of it. But then, after that, that racing potential, which it may or may not have, becomes incidental. And that's a good thing, because for that price, you don't want to hinge all of the car's importance on whether or not it can win a race, because the simple fact is, you can get better cars for a lower price, of course. And so, overall, I would say that the i8 definitely has that aspect of its checklist, if you will, in the bag. It's a lot of fun, the driver involvement is fantastic, and it is definitely worth buying, not from its price point of view, but more irrelevant of the price, just to own it for the fun of it. In terms of racing use, it definitely has some. It's not the most usable sports car in the world, and it doesn't have the highest overall tuning range of any of the sports cars in the game. The top end speed, for instance, isn't ridiculously high. It's good, but it's not going to beat everything. But it's a car which I would say, in a similar vein to what I was mentioning earlier about things like Spikers, for instance, it's a car which you should only buy if it jumps out at you. Don't buy this car if you're looking for the best in class. Don't buy this car if you're looking for the best value for money or the best bang for buck, because it categorically is not that car. For the price, you can buy a number of other cars with similar numbers and similar performance that are also sports cars. You can even get some that are better. In fact, you can get quite a few that are better for a lower price. So it's just not that choice of vehicle. What it is, in a similar way to how a Spiker is a lot more expensive, for instance, than something like an Audi R8, but it's for people who want that more oddball, more off-centre choice, the more out there, doesn't afraid to be different type of car. And that really is what the i8 is. Yes, it's environmentally friendly in real life, but it's not all about that. It's about using that in conjunction with being a really cool sports car. And it carries that over to the game. Of course, the environmental thing doesn't really matter, but the fun factor definitely does. This is a lot of fun to drive. I personally think it looks fantastic. It definitely sounds really good. Not many other cars in the game sound like this. And so if that sounds like something that appeals to you, a car which is first and foremost just really cool to drive, and then secondary to that is its racing ability, then you should check it out. For most people though, this will probably be a car which I'd recommend leaving till later, maybe when you have excess funds and you just fancy buying something different, or if you've got all of the cars that you need and then fancy buying something just for the sake of it. This is that kind of car. It's a nice addition for most people, but at the same time, certainly not an essential purchase. But that's it overall for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.